Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now. With over 35 years in business, top shelf customer service, and innovative commercial insurance solutions, here's what our commercial trucking community says about Seabright.
I haven't had a claim as of yet, but I would rate them at a 5 just based on customer service. How nice everyone is when I call with questions. Robbie.
I am glad I made the switch. I saved roughly $450. A huge difference. Saving big with Seabright. Darlene.
I have nothing but great things to say. Incredible answering my questions, helping me set up my policy, making sure everything is correct. Super friendly. Anthony.
If you're a Swift transportation contractor, Contractors Corner Consulting Group and Seabright have a special rate just for you. When you call, mention you are a Swift contractor and you are interested in the Contractors Corner deal to save and keep more of your money in your pocket. Not a Swift contractor? No problem. Mention Contractors Corner and let us show you the savings.
We asked the Seabright team to help us help contractors save and keep more money. What they came up with exceeded by far what we thought was possible.
Call now to see what you can save. Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466.
Think I'm having technical difficulties because it's doing weird things on my screen. Was that like glitchy to you guys? Was it like skipping and doing weird stuff? Because it was being really bad on my screen. It was not pleasant. But hey, everybody, it's Tuesday. It's the 6th of June. Wow, forgot what month it was. That just happened. You saw it happen. Whatever. You know what? Jeff, get in here.
I don't want to.
Do it.
I'm busy.
Do it now.
Why?
Yeah, it was like all glitchy and on my screen. I was freaking out. I'm like, uh-oh, I might need to reboot. That might be a thing. Wow, I feel like it's really dark in here too. Oh my God. It's important right there.
Okay.
D-Day anniversary. Okay.
Yep. So if I look distracted, there is a reason, guys.
Whatever. Nobody cares.
I'm still trying to get my freaking taxes done from 2022, and they keep telling me they don't have documents, even though they could see that I sent them to them, but they didn't get entered in the system. So now I've got to scramble to get more documentation.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Hey, let's say hello to people. What do you think, Jeff?
Okay, that might make me feel better.
Nick Earl was first at 1:45 this afternoon. Senor Ocho Trace. Good job. Craig Hutchison was here. Timothy Ransom wants a participation trophy. Totally makes sense. You can have one. Right. Look at that. James Bond, what's going on? Bear Hunter, good to see you, Sean. Hated.
Why are we damning things?
Because that's what he does. He's a bear hunter.
Okay.
He's a big man from Texas.
Okay.
Look, don't argue. He'll punch you or something. I don't know.
Got to catch me first. I've met him.
Gee, all right. Jonah Green, good evening, sir. Darian Thompson, good to see you. You know what? You guys betting on whether or not we're going to be late. Most weeks you say we're late. We're not. Whatever. And this commercials don't count. They do. It's part of the broadcast. Whatever. The broadcast has started. Whatever. I admit to being 2 minutes late.
So you tell Grant that your priorities are set rock solid. Just tell him that Jeff said that and Charley agrees.
Yes, whatever it is. If Jeff says so, I agree.
Apparently, she opened her laptop and to do something for me, and Grant gave her the stink eye.
You know what, Grant, Mr. Grant, my man, my buddy, don't start none. Look, dude. Oh my God, Jeff, you would have loved this. The other day, he came out and started telling Sue something while we were talking. I'm like, don't be talking to my woman like that. You should have seen the look that man gave me. It was. I'm like, look, we'll fight, whatever. It was great. I enjoyed it. I gotta tell you, it was pretty fun.
So if Grant was quicker on the uptake, he would have said, "Yeah, but I'll have Rosie on my side."
You know,
And then you would have had to be like, just like you just did. Oh,
right?
okay.
Hey, Ken Kelly. I know he's talking to me because he said meathead. Whatever. Good to see you, Ken. Carolina trucker. First time here signing my contract Thursday. Well, welcome. Congratulations. And stay tuned. We should be able to provide
So
you with a
where
bunch
you're
of
from,
stuff.
Carolina? You must be from like California or something,
Right?
right?
Must be San Diego, something like that. You caught that, Nick? I was with you, man. I was with you. I'm not gonna lie. I had forgotten that this was the day. I've been wrapped up in all kinds of other crazy crap in my head, and I forgot that some of those important things. So thank you. Whew. Yeah, James went to PA. You poor man. God. What else we got going on up here? Oh, Blackbeard's up in Albany, New York.
Oh.
Weird lag. Like everything I'm clicking on, Jeff, is completely lagged on my computer. It's weird.
Craig's headed to Jonestown.
Yeah, but he lives up in runs that area. That guy, he doesn't get beat up by the freight like the OTR guys do.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Oh, Carolina trucker. What? You're from North Carolina. What? That makes no sense at all.
I thought maybe he was a Russian spy or something.
Oh,
isn't that a thing these days?
It is, right? Timothy Ransom. Does anybody Zonar log them out every few days?
Only if I don't have the truck on.
Yeah, for long periods even. Mine resets every couple of hours lately. That's been fun while we're driving down the road.
I've gotten that white screen of death 4 times today.
Yeah, right? What the heck's going on with that? It has not been enjoyable lately.
The technology at the Swift anyway is not getting any better right now. I'm just going to say that out loud.
Apparently David Jones is in North Carolina right now. Awesome. And Darian, oh my gosh, it's going to be a Carolina show. I'm also from North Carolina, Darian said.
Yeah.
Carolina trucker said, don't blow my cover. Forest City. I used to live up in what you call it? Well, I lived in Fayetteville while I was stationed at Bragg, and then I went over to Carthage.
Here we go. Jonah Green's from South Carolina.
Oh, there's a fight about to happen. Let's see.
Buddy.
Let's see it evolve.
We got
North versus
tickets,
South.
Man. We gotta sell tickets for Swift Charity on this one.
No doubt.
They're working on fixing the tablet. Nick Earl said they've been working on fixing the tablet since I got the tablet 2 years ago.
Right.
And we try to remain positive on the show. We try to remain positive in the Facebook group, but man, some of this stuff is just like, get it done already, right?
Right.
First world problems, Charlie. First world problems.
Right.
I gotta tell myself that every once in a while. Remind myself.
Yeah. So how you guys doing out there? We were trying to do some stuff this week that we just didn't get done. It happens, unfortunately. Oh Lord, something's happening here. Sue said reposition out. Good luck, James. That's what I just heard.
Who was it? Wasn't Alan Becker up in that area last week, and he repositioned himself to Ohio?
Yeah, to Columbus. But
Yeah,
however,
good load
when he
out of
got
there.
within 10 minutes or 15 miles or something like that from Columbus, he had a load put on him. So just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, Blackbeard. That tablet tech is a joke. Ha ha ha. Mm. You know, it
Should
could
we-
be really cool.
What?
The tablet. But it's not. I've seen some other companies' tablets that look pretty awesome and seem to work a whole lot better.
Yeah. I've seen a few others also that have the exact same actual tablet we do,
Right.
but they used off the shelf
Right.
GPS and stuff. The only thing that's proprietary is the message system.
Right.
But we've said before, Swift, man, they love their proprietary. We can do this on our own. We don't need you.
Right. Right.
So I don't know, man. Should we
I don't
do
know.
some? Should we tell them what they're making this week?
Oh, look it. Whatever. You're all picking on me, man.
Oh, Life on 18 Wheels. I don't know if you beat me as a comment or not.
Oh, he did.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man. Let's see.
You know what?
they're making this
You know
week.
what? Since you two are together, that's how it's going to go. Yep.
Nope.
Yep. Watch this. You're going to love this.
We're gonna fight. I'm just gonna twiddle my thumbs, Charlie. All right, fuel surcharge, guys. National diesel fuel cost average went down by 5.8 cents to $3.79.7. West Coast PAD 5 diesel fuel cost average went down 0.07 for $4.47. That makes our fuel surcharge for OTR at 41 cents. 41.6 cents. See what happens, Charlie? You're laughing. He's laughing at me that in the background. He rolls with this. He's been doing it so long. So that's a change of down by just over a penny, 1.1 cents. West Coast fuel surcharge this week is 10 cents. So it's gone down from the 11 that was 2 weeks ago. And since Charlie put me up here, I'm going to mention last week Charlie screwed up.
And Jeff's done for the day, and we're just going to move on along without him. We're going to hit this little button over here and move right on out of here. You like that, Jeff? I was expecting it, sir.
Hey, you put me on the spot.
I did.
Man.
By the way, I did screw up last week. He was right. I told him just for the show that I realized. So I didn't. And here's the thing: I didn't realize it till I was doing this week's fuel surcharge that I had screwed up last week's West Coast fuel surcharge. It wasn't, in fact, 11 cents. It was 10 cents that I had swapped two numbers, and that screwed my whole thing up. So for that, I do apologize. And it was 10 cents, not 11 last week. So there you go. String me up. Let's make it happen. I'm good with that. Good Lord. That's funny. You just started. I saw you star that one on Ken, and I was just reading it as you did. It was pretty cool. We will get to some of those.
He gone. Who's gone, Nick?
You were gone.
Oh. Hey, man, I've had a hell of a 2 days here.
Right.
I had a bunch of stuff go wrong on my last load, which caused me to pick this load up late, which meant a macro 22 as soon as I picked up. 2 macro 22s later, finally hear back from the CSR, which I might talk about my opinion on the CSRs at Swift.
Oh, I think you should. You could trigger me into bringing up the my favorite CSR's name. I would have to look for it because I actually forgot about it, but
so for you, those of you guys that are not Swift, we'll probably end up giving you a little bit of material to laugh about here in a few minutes.
Right.
Because so let's do
something this week.
Let's do Ken Kelly's question here. Not question, but comment. Kent Kelly says, I found out today the Macro 64 isn't ready yet. For those of you that don't know, the Macro 64 is the new home call that they're trying to implement, and no, it's not ready. So I gigger it. I figure when IT says something is ready to roll out on a finite date, I add 6 months, and maybe it will be ready. Yeah. That seems to be kind of the MO, doesn't it?
You need to learn how to speak Ken Kelly.
I know. So this is something new that they're doing, and I don't quite understand it fully because my OOC doesn't understand it fully. What they're trying to do with this 64, this Macro 64, this new home call thing. I guess it's going to allow you to say exactly. I mean, I've looked at it. It doesn't work. I tried to fill one out the other day, but it's asking you not only when do you want to be home, but an actual date and time. When do you want to go back out, date and time. And I think this is interesting. I don't know how this promise is going to be met in an OTR operation, but it asks you, is this home time request flexible? Yes or no? So that's kind of interesting.
Right.
So what's interesting is where I'm at, Ken, with this is I tried to do the Macro 64 because Dana asked me to do that because I guess she just took a class on it. You know how people are when they take a class on something. So I did it, and it kicked it back saying that I'm not authorized to use the new home time thing. She said, okay, well, just do the macro wait so I can get your home call set because I got vacation coming up at the end of the month. I did that one, and you know what it came back with, Charlie? That I'm not authorized to use the home call.
Oh, wow.
So I'm completely out of the home call thing. I had to have her just manually set it.
You're not allowed to have home call. That's what they're telling you.
Maybe I just said too much how addicted I am to work, and so Swift is like, yeah, that guy doesn't need home time.
Right. They're just going to keep feeding you more work. So, there's apparently a whole back end part of that new home call stuff because Dana trying to fix my time off the end of last week. Apparently it's a lot more involved on their end to change. Like if you want to add or take a day off of that home time you already set, it's like a whole thing. I mean, it was like 10 minutes of her. Oh man. Oh God. That's what I heard on the phone for like 10 minutes. It was crazy. And some choice words because I understood those.
So part of my problem last night, Charlie, and this is new to me. I don't know if any of you guys have had this happen. So I went and got an empty where the ECT out of Memphis, who was awesome, by the way. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I did do a voice of choice on it because she was just awesome.
Was that Cool D?
No, that's the one. Okay. Cool D was even better. But so I picked up the empty, did the empty call thing like you're supposed to do, got dispatched on the next load, went to go pick it up. The system locked the trailer to my truck. It would not let, I ended up calling in and talking to Chip.
Oh, that's nice.
And at his level, he was not authorized to drop that trailer off me for some reason. And it sounded like he had never seen that before either.
Right.
So I got with the folks over in Phoenix and they got it done. But yeah, that was kind of weird. All sorts of system issues right now. I don't know what's going on.
So check this out. Whoops. Nick said he used Macro 64 today, and he's home weekly now. It asks date, time, and what time you go back out. You can put in as many as you want, I think. I've done my weekends for a month already.
Oh, nice. I wonder if maybe you're authorized on it because you're in that type of situation. And us OTR guys, they don't care about as much. It could be.
Right. And Ken said it did the same thing to him, Jeff. So there you go.
Yep. Weird, huh?
I don't know. It's crazy. Josh McLean's thrown out there, micromanage. Some of it, yeah. I agree. Not going to argue that.
So we have a newbie question. And this is always a good one to remind people of. When is payroll cutoff? That's from Carolina Trucker.
Right.
So this is a question that has an answer, but it's not an answer.
It's a convoluted answer.
It's a convoluted answer. Officially, our payroll ends Wednesday night at midnight. That's when it ends. So anything you T-call that doesn't have paperwork that you have to scan that you get done by Wednesday at midnight, you should get on your very next settlement. Here's where it gets complicated. Here's where it gets complicated, though. If you have to scan paperwork, they guarantee, and that's important, guarantee loads that are scanned by 3 p.m. Phoenix time, Tuesday afternoon, will be on the next settlement. I want to say that again. They guarantee that. So most of us, like I deliver tomorrow before noon, and I'm willing to bet that load is going to go on this week's settlement. It's not guaranteed, but I'm willing to bet that it will. The closer I get to midnight, the more sketchy that gets. So, just keep an eye on it. If you do deliver something like grocery live unload at like 10 o'clock at night or something like that, scan your paperwork until midnight on Wednesday night, and it does not show up on this week's settlement, just check on Friday morning and make sure that it posts on next week's settlement. This is one of those things where we talk a little bit about money management, because people get their get a little upset about this, right, Charlie?
Yep.
I did this work, I need to get paid for it this week. Well, not necessarily. The contract says that you're on a net 15.
Right, and that's the scary one. I mean, imagine that for everybody being rolled out like full time. Oh my God.
Right. If they ever decide to actually do that, there'd be a lot of people that would be in lurch. So we start looking at things not week to week, but look at the month, the quarter, and the year. What did you make this month? What did you make last quarter? And what did you make for the whole year? And that will help you to not go nuts when one of these trips doesn't pay this week.
So here's 2 follow-ups that I'm going to throw up here because I think we should argue with them. First, Timothy Ransom said, I've gotten paid on a load I scanned in on Thursday and showed up on his coming check before. And then James said, false. I scanned paperwork at 2,300 on Wednesday. I showed up on my settlement Thursday. So,
but it's not guaranteed.
Right. It's a possibility. It may happen. Not guaranteed.
Also, remember, we're talking Phoenix time. So depending
right.
on what time zone you're in.
And that is the official policy on it. What Jeff just put out there is the official real deal thing.
And this has nothing to do with Swift, believe it or not. So there's a clearinghouse company that receives all the paperwork that we send in, and they sort through those images, and they do whatever they do, and they transmit several times a day to Swift payroll,
right,
the completed trips. And so the closer you get to midnight Phoenix time, the less likely, or let me rephrase that. The closer you get to midnight on Wednesday, Phoenix time, the more likely that the trip will show up next week instead of this week.
Right.
And James, I've done grocery unloads and scanned paperwork right at 23:45 and still got paid for them.
Right.
And then I've had trips where I scanned at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't.
But if we say, oh yeah, anything up until midnight, scan it, you're good. And then it doesn't go, whoever it is we just said that to, all of you are going to be like, dude, you guys are stupid. I didn't get paid and it's your fault. Just saying. We go by what the policy states. So that's what we put out. It says by 3 p.m. Tuesday, Phoenix time, that anything scanned in by then is guaranteed to be on that payroll. If not, then no. It's a coin toss. Yep. So that's real. Just saying. And there was something. Oh, Sue was saying that the Max 64 is supposed to be ready, working for all drivers. It was rolled out by terminals. And if home time calls are not working for you, have your OC send in help desk an email with subject line home time issues. So there you go.
Right. Notice how you skipped over the one that says Jeff is correct.
Oh, my bad. Well, that was a different subject. I was going to come back to that.
Oh, sure you were.
You better stop.
Donna,
it,
Donna, my wife Donna, and he have been emailing all day, so I think she influenced him a little bit.
Yep. And y'all tell Jeff to take the pictures that she wants to take of him. Just leave it at that, and we'll just let everybody's mind wander because that's funny. You're welcome. I was gonna go somewhere. Dang it, man. Oh, Darian. What about the new policy that Swift said go active this month about having to have Swift insurance to be a mentor and others? So we can dive into that. I actually wanted to talk about something on that because I think it's a little scary and sketchy and stuff. Let me pull up the portal page, go back to home, see if that one's still there. I thought it was interesting that they put this out. Come on, open up.
While you're looking for that, Nick Earl, too bad we can't factor. Well, Nick, here's the thing though. Unless you're like Craig and you're doing a percentage and you have invoices, where are you going to factor? You have to have invoices to factor. And as Sue says, factoring is such a pain. I mean, there's a reason why those services exist, but we've had people approach us, hey, we have this factoring service. Why don't you talk about that on your show?
Right.
And we're like, because our people are mostly on mileage contracts leased to a carrier, and factoring is not a thing that we can do.
I was actually going to ask about this. They put out a news article on the portal last week, on the 25th, to be precise. And I was a little thrown off by this. So what it says is the deadline to have approved outside insurance or an approved camera system installed was 5/1/2023. Your contract will be placed on insurance hold on 6/1/2023. To avoid being placed on insurance hold, please call that number in option 1. I was curious if anybody had been hit on that yet. Because I have insurance through Seabright. Jeff has insurance through Seabright. Yeah, the cameras, I don't know. What are your guys' experiences with this so far? Anyone seen anything negative from this? Has it happened? Because we haven't gotten any information on it. Nobody said, hey, I got put on hold yet. So I don't know. I mean, that's not to say it's not going to happen tomorrow or right now as we're talking about it. Who knows? So I don't know if you haven't swapped over, got a camera, or changed insurance. I think it's a minute by minute thing.
I think that the people that are in that position probably don't listen to us, Charlie.
Could be.
Because I mean, here's something that Charlie and I've talked about, and we've talked to Brett about, and I understand the division's frustration with this, and it's not very, very many people that are falling into this category. I mean, it's less than 100 people that they're still like, hey, you need to make a choice. But we've known about this since what?
November, September, yeah, something like that.
I mean, whenever Todd broke the story, so we've known about it all that time, and how do you not act by now?
Right.
8 months ago or whatever it is.
Hey, Sue, have you heard any hard enforcement on this yet? I mean, I know what the company is saying, that you have to have it or you're going to get put on hold. Have you heard of this enforcement actually happening yet? Do you know? Can you not say? You can tell me to shut up. I'll take that as an answer. Excuse me. I think that might even be a fair answer. I mean, just saying. Oh, look, there's a new article on there celebrating Swift owner operators.
Okay. Sue Smith just says no, and then laughs.
Okay, that's a good answer. We can take that. Introducing the new owner operator Woo Box, whatever that is. We invite you to submit your most awe-inspiring photographs to our online shared album, whether it's a stunning sunset on the horizon, your trusty rig parked against a picturesque backdrop, or a snapshot of your hard-earned accomplishments. We want to see it all. Your photos just might inspire others to take control of their future. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
That's the latest on the portal there on the portal news. That's interesting. I got to click on this Woo box now. I'm look at that. It's like a little photo album thing. How cool is that? I guess. Owner operator. It's got different. Albums in it. Even. It looks like owner operator lifestyle something and congratulations. Ooh, look at that. Congratulations, Barb, on your 5th truck with Swift. Over 1.172 million miles crash-free. Co-driver Gizmo is in the truck acting shy. Not. New drivers, if you see Barb, she has lots of knowledge to share as Barb's OOC. I never have to worry about anything with her. She is safe, reliable, and on time again. Congratulations, Barb. I believe that is our Barb.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to click like on that because, oh, wait, I got to complete this information. What? I'm not falling for that trap. You want my name? Are you crazy?
What?
In order to like that picture, I had to give them information like my name and email. And I'm not playing that game. I've seen how this game works. You're going to send me something. I know it, and I don't want to see that. I don't know what it is.
Did you notice my official title today, Charlie?
I did not. Oh my God, professional Charlie wrangler. Is there really such a thing? I mean, can anyone wrangle this? It is a full-time job, though. I'm just saying it deserves a title because
Why don't you throw the FSC across the bottom there?
I did. I did that right when we did it, man. Tim.
Well, Timothy Ransom's going to come and fight you.
Look, we already gave him a damn trophy. What more does this man want? Apparently, he wants to see the fuel surcharge. We did it. You missed it. I'm going to put it up anyhow, but you are a little whiny today. I'm going to throw that out there. Just saying that. Jeff's going to get mad at me for that one, or he's going to agree with me secretly.
Carolina Trucker wants to know what kind of miles are people getting lately. It's still pretty slim, Carolina Trucker. There is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, though. Listening to the DAT IQ today, 3rd week in a row, and rates out there in the spot market have stayed pretty steady. So that's a good indicator right there that things might be turning around. But check this out, Charlie. Did you catch the number that they said? 15,000 authority numbers,
right?
Net loss since 2022, the middle of 2022.
Yeah, those numbers are starting to balance out a little bit more, which is why we're seeing a raise in the spot market and all that stuff. And yeah.
And with capacity dwindling like that, it's starting to have a little bit of an effect. So we are seeing a little more mileage this week than we did, say, a month ago. But it's definitely, they're still talking into next year before things get hammered out. So
Roland said he wants to be like Barb when he grows up. But wait, what he first said was, I want to like Barb when I grow up. Are you saying, how could you not like Barb? She's such a nice lady. I mean, God. And why do you have to grow up to like her? What is going on, Roland?
The only people that don't like Barb are the people that haven't met Barb.
Right? Like, seriously. But I'm just messing with you, Roland. I'll put your corrected one up there. No, yeah. Look, I actually dig her a lot. Like, seriously. Like, she's actually enjoyable to talk to. Extremely knowledgeable. I mean, seriously, and she just seems like a good person, like just like a good lady. You know what I mean? Just a good person. I won't even say a good lady. She's just a good person. I don't know. Darian said, I start owner op on the 28th. Is it worth it to go OTR? Or is it better to find a dedicated lane? That's a tricky question at times. The dedicated lanes that we run, quite a few of them have a lower contract rate. So, I mean, if it's going to meet a specific need you have, like, you need to be home 1 day a week, 2 days every week, something like that, and you're willing to make a little less in the mileage contract to do that, then sure. I mean, that could be beneficial to you. Jeff and I have had this conversation over the last couple of weeks. We were talking about, we've been averse to recommending people get on dedicated accounts because of the lower mileage rates on quite a few of them. As an example, one of the Walmarts down, I think it's Temple, the contractor rate is like 86 cents a mile loaded. That's gnarly. Okay, you get Walmart fuel prices, so that helps. But 86 cents, I got a thing in my head that nothing under 95 cents would I go onto a dedicated account for. That's just my magic number. Your magic number will be your magic number. I'm not trying to steer you one way or the other, but I mean wow, I'm just saying it's a tough thing to do. If it's going to meet your needs, and if the numbers make sense to you and you can meet your obligations doing something like that, then by all means, you typically have more steady miles, so you can factor that into it. And if it meets the things that you need it to meet, by all means, get on there. We've lately been talking about, man, maybe some of these dedicated lanes would be a good thing right now with, the way the market's been lately. In that, let's say they're running 2,800 miles a week on the dedicated lane at a lower rate, plus stop pay, plus low fuel costs on like a Walmart type deal or something along those lines, then it might actually make pretty good sense when we have guys that are running OTR with okay, so like Sue was saying, the last week in East, owner operator average was 2,059 miles. And that number does include, like she says, people who are on home time as well. So it includes the entire owner operator fleet on the East Coast. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what like the accounting firm Swift uses for their owner operator vetting stuff currently. They are basing their numbers on 2,000 miles a week.
Mm-hmm.
As
they used to base it on 2,500,
right? And now they've dropped to that 2,000 mile a week limit because that's what they're seeing as a broader, more average picture. So if I don't know. And then I talked to Jim Fitzsimmons Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. He was in Ocala. So I got a couple minutes to talk to him, and he says that they're even seeing a slight uptick in freight. It's nothing drastic or major yet, he said, but they are noticing that there is an increase in the freight base that we're running. They actually have a couple of new opportunities popping up on the dedicated side of things, which was a shock to me. Because the company they were talking about has been, and I'm going to be vague here, but probably not vague enough, so you can figure it out. The company that they were talking about, that wears white shirts, has been steadily filling their DCs with their own internal drivers and pretty much doing away with outside carriers to cover their freight. And Jim mentioned that they were approached by that company and are actually being asked to cover some additional DCs.
Good.
So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. But he says that they're seeing an uptick in the freight volumes and the amount of miles run on a weekly basis now. They're optimistic that it seems to be showing that, we possibly hit that bottom and it may be uptrending, but, still within reason and being, I don't know, not pessimistic, but more guarded with the anticipation to say, hey, we think we might have hit the bottom and we'll see what the next few weeks look like. At least maybe things have leveled out and may start climbing, but it's going to be a slow climb. Don't expect anything like you've seen in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That's that realistic thing.
So what you'll hear us say a lot is do the math. You see an opportunity, do the math. A Walmart DC that's only paying, let's say, 90 cents a mile loaded, but then you've got 3 drops per load. You've got the loads are only 350 miles long, so you're getting paid more per mile because of that, because that 90 cents is just the base rate. Right. Then like in Moberly right now, we have someone that I talk to that Charley doesn't run a Moberly right now, and she paid $2.87 per diesel today at that DC.
Right.
So you got to do the math on all of that stuff, and then bounce it against your why. Why do you do what you do, and is that going to meet the criteria of that why? As far as good enough to make a decent settlement, which was the next part of the question.
Right.
That honestly, that's 100% up to you. Are you doing all the things you need to do to make a good living for yourself?
Right.
Are you doing 70 miles an hour, or are you doing 60 miles an hour? Are you taking Swiss recommended fuel stops, or are you using the ESA Advantage card and shopping for your own fuel?
And fuel book.
And fuel book. There's all sorts of things that you need to do as a business owner that kind of make that question a little different than just get miles.
Right.
By the time you have a paid for truck, for me, if I turn the truck on and leave the house and I have a load, I made money. But I don't have truck payment. Right. Once you get to that point, which is years down the road, if you just started, things do get a little more comfortable financially. This current downturn is the worst I've seen in 16 years. It's worse than the Great Recession of 2009, and it's a tough one. I won't blow smoke up your butt. It's really tough right now. So now more than ever, it's important to take all this stuff that people have been doing this for a while are telling you to do. Slow down. With part of the problem right now being a lack of freight, period, which that wasn't really, as bad in 2009 as it is now. Be willing to take loads you wouldn't normally think you would take. Take that 45,000 pounds of paper and run with it. Take that load to Oregon. Think of that worst place that you could think of that you just don't like to go. Take that load.
Yep.
Because that's right now. That's
other than Pennsylvania.
Yeah, try and stay out of New England, but that's a different thing altogether because you'll end up deadheading out right now.
Or sitting for 3 days, and that's just a bad idea.
See, Ken, you've always got to be better than me. What is it with you? Ken, it's the worst he's seen in 30 years.
Because he's old as dirt.
I guess.
But I love the guy.
Well, he started when he was younger than we were when we started. So
yeah, true enough.
He's been in the game a long time.
Yeah, I think Ken's been trucking since ox carts.
Were you a mule skinner, Ken?
Oh my God. No, and like Sue's saying exactly, you have to be flexible in this market. There are places, she said, yes, there are places you will have to wait to get freight, but the sales teams are working very, very hard to get same-day bookings. There may not be a load when you stop, but 2 hours later, there may be a few loads that drop in or are finally scheduled. And that's like literally been a thing lately. Jeff, it's funny. Jeff and I were just talking about this. He said, all the loads on the load board for Georgia evaporated.
Yeah, now it's booked up through Monday. But every time I look at one, it's already booked on somebody else's truck. They're going fast.
Right. And one of the things I said to him is, yeah, well, you got to keep checking it and check it early in the morning because they're getting a lot of these same day bookings and bam, they got people sitting there. They're going to take them and go. So, Ken said he started when Neferati was in charge. So there you go. I'm just saying, those of you look it up. And Ken was talking about, he's on a dedicated route where he runs, here it is. He runs dedicated OTR miles, plus they pick up the Oregon road tax. That is an amazing deal. If you don't mind running Oregon, Washington, California, that crap, right?
Well, if it wasn't for the road tax, Oregon's fine.
Right. I just don't like paying any money to Oregon at this point. I don't know. Just me. It's Jeff too. Don't let him fool you. But he's on a pretty cool contract, honestly, because that's a hard contract to get them to cover that, because that's significant, especially if you're running it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds monthly on Oregon road tax when I was doing that Cabela's dedicated thing.
Well, every time I went home, that road tax bill was $300-400,
Right?
just to go home.
Look, Roland said it. He deadheaded 450 miles to Ohio from PA. Yeah, and I'm guessing it did okay for you. You got a load out of there, because that's what I've been seeing from a lot of people. I wish I had actually deadheaded. When was it? 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was up there. But then again, it did work out. I did that stupid local that was a live unload, and I kind of just ate the time on it. It was like whatever. But they did get me out of there and running from that point on. And I actually turned that next week into a 6,000-mile week. So I don't know. It wasn't horrible. It worked out. It averaged out crappy. And let's just be real, for a team truck, it averaged out crappy for those 2 weeks. 8,200 miles for a team truck on 2 weeks. That's below what average should be, I guess. In this market, maybe that is average. I don't know. I haven't been doing the OTR thing long enough again to really get a good solid number on that. Sue, maybe you could jump in on that. I don't know if you have access to that kind of info. What would an average team truck be looking at OTR, if you can share that? I don't know if you can or not. So if not, that's cool. I don't know. To me, 4,100 averaged over each week, over 2-week period, doesn't seem great. When in the past, I knew people who were running 7,000, 6,500 every single week, week in, week out, week in, week out. So I don't know, but now is not then, right?
Kelly Furlong, I've been stuck in Martinsburg, West Virginia. My truck got out of the shop yesterday at 11. Been told there are loads going north, but we'll be sitting there too. That's what I was told.
Yeah, don't go north.
Yeah, don't go north. I was just getting distracted again. Charlotte, and Sue can chime in on this, is 386 miles away. If you chose to go down there, and if someone like Sue that has her finger on the pulse of where the freight is told you that you could get westbound freight out of there, would you be willing to do that on your own dime? It's 386 miles.
I would. That's well within my 500-mile limit.
Mm-hmm. Do the math. I mean, 386 miles. Let's do this real quick. This is how Charley and I do it. 386 miles, and you're going to be empty. You need to take a trailer, by the way. They'll
yeah, don't bobtail.
Don't bobtail. So you figure you're going to get about 9 miles to the gallon. So that's 42 gallons of fuel to get down there. What was our weekly average? Let's just use that.
Of what?
Fuel. Price.
It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, Jeff. What do you mean? No, it's not. It is. Shut your mouth. All right. Nobody cares. Let me find it. I got to click on a button.
379. So it's going to cost you $159 to get there out of your pocket. But if they've got westbound freight there,
yeah,
I would pay $160 to go to a place where there's freight.
And like Sue says, and I was going to chime in here, remember there's a cost every day you sit. Right. You're not just not making money. It's costing you money to sit there because you're generating zero revenue and your truck payment, your insurance doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that you're just not making money. It's costing you to sit there.
Yep.
You need to look at this properly. A lot of people say, well, I'd rather sit for 3 days and take a low paying run. I disagree with that.
I mean, let's say your daily cost is $140 a day. Just pulling it out of my butt. It's probably a little more than that if you got a payment. by the way. And if you sit there for 3 days, that just cost you $420. Or you could have spent $160 to go down to a place where there's freight. So you'd be ahead of the game by $260, assuming that you got a load right out of wherever you're headed.
Right.
So that's the proper way to look at it. And it's like I tell you guys about shopping for fuel. Using Fuel Book, using the WEX app for the ESA prices, and looking at the Swift fuel route, which I did the math on all that, which we're going to release in a class on the community when we launch it. But yeah, just don't use the Swift fuel route.
My God,
it's worse than I thought when I actually did the math. And keep in mind that we just use the national average fuel price. If you're on ESA, you're not going to pay that much. You're going to pay about 60 cents, but a gallon less than that. So just do the math. When we're doing these fuel routes for ourselves, when I first started doing it, Charlie and I were doing it kind of at the same time. We're like, God, this is taking forever. How fast can you knock out a fuel route for the day now, Charlie?
Yeah,
5-10 minutes.
Yeah, if that.
I've actually just
that's checking that's checking the ES, that's checking Fuel Book, and a couple of individual specific apps sometimes, because I'll not all the QTs will show up on Fuel Book sometimes. So I'll do a search with Fuel Book, just scroll across the map looking for others that maybe didn't show up, and every now and then I'll find one that's like amazing. So yeah, even with all that extra steps, it's still only a few minutes a day.
Yeah, it's just learning the apps so you get proficient with them and you get quick at it. It's like any other skill.
This is actually, wait, let me go back to that. Wimpin' McPoke, I got you. If mileage keeps dropping, I'm going home, not living in a truck for less than 2,000 a week. And that's a decision every single person needs to make, right? I mean, that's it's real. I can accept that and understand that. And,
I will
I'm out here hustling.
I will say, though, that I'm cheaper than that.
Right.
I mean, so let's say you work 45 weeks a year. That's $90,000 a year if you're making $2,000 in net profit. Did you know that the average person in the United States makes less than $50,000 a year? Okay. So at $2,000 a week, you're doing pretty good, man. I think honestly that a little perspective is in order on this one. There is a point, like if I'm seeing freight and it's just like, dude, I made $500 last week and it wasn't a home time week. Right. That's when I started thinking about going home.
Right.
And just resetting myself.
Yeah.
But 2,000, look at, what are you actually making and how does that compare to the national average? That's the way I've always looked at my success. Am I doing better than the national average?
Right.
If not, I got some thinking to do.
And yes, QT has their own app, and it's nice because it'll pull up a Find It, and you'll see all the QTs. You zoom in, and, oh look, there's like 5 of them. You zoom out and you scroll back across the map, and anyhow,
Sue, I'm going to take you to task on this one. Because that sounds like numbers from 2007 to me. I'm not sure that these new engines drink more than about a half a gallon to 3/4 of a gallon per hour, as long as they're properly maintained. I get your point. Obviously, it's money spent. I'm idling the truck right now because it's freaking hot outside. But I think the new engines, I don't know, Charlie, have you done a fill up idle for a day and then fill up yet?
I have not on this new truck.
I did that on my truck right about this time last year in New Mexico, actually.
Right.
And I did a 34-hour reset at the terminal there in Albuquerque. And I filled up when I got there, and I literally just did not turn the engine off. And I timed the time I was there, and then I filled up when I left. And this truck idles at just under 3/4 of a gallon per hour.
Yeah,
So,
Blackbeard says he's at 0.6 an hour.
yeah. And really, it's an interesting thing to discuss because the only way to be sure is to do like what I did, right?
Fill it up,
You
park
can't
it, idle it, and do
and do the math because your dash isn't going to be accurate, especially on idle.
right.
The remember back in the Qualcomm when you could go in the settings and you could see what it thought your fuel mileage was, and it was all whacked out.
Oh my god!
And that's what the company was using for your idle time on you company drivers, was that Qualcomm. And I was like, yeah, but I know how whacked out it is. That's
right.
You're idling almost all the time, and it's not showing that much.
So Tivana Blades Lewis asked, is it beneficial to trip lease versus sit? If you have someone that you can trip lease to, and look, so we found out that there was some wonky numbers coming in about the trip leasing thing, and that people were leaving, and Jeff and I found out that no, they weren't leaving. They weren't getting paid, so they weren't paying their bills, and it was a problem. So you need to have a good, solid relationship with the person you're going to be trip leasing to, so that you understand what it is that you need to. I mean, because remember, you still got to make your truck payments, insurance, all that stuff. And God, I'm getting some weird chirp in my headset. I don't even know what, it's freaking me out, man. And anyhow, sorry, squirrel. You need a good relationship with whoever it is you're going to trip lease with or through, and make sure that you understand when you're going to get paid from them, and make arrangements to still be able to make your payments to IEL and that stuff. So be very careful what you're doing there. Not discouraging you, just saying really have a solid conversation, get a good contract between you and whomever, and understand that contract. Hope that helps.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we know of some people that went out and got, it was actually a deal with a reefer company to run some stuff for them for a while, and they just killed it. They were doing really well.
Right.
And then we know about these guys that their companies that they were trip leased to never paid them, and so they weren't able to pay Swift.
Or we're paying them on like a net 90 and they weren't aware of it. I mean,
right.
It's just so much. Can you afford to go 90 days without actually getting put in your pocket and into your bank?
Yep.
Most folks contracted to our carrier honestly can't swing that.
Right.
I'm going to say most.
Charley and I, you've heard us say, we're looking at some things ourselves in that arena. We look for opportunities as well.
Right.
But, it comes down to the specific opportunity we're looking at. We still need to do a lot of due diligence.
Right.
Before we're ready to actually do something like we're thinking of. And it's a short-term thing. As far as using trip leasing to get out of an area, you talk to Brett Stewart, and his opinion is that's what trip leasing was actually designed for.
Right.
Is you could go out and do a one-off for a guy and get out of like the Northeast and get to Texas.
Right.
Without having a deadhead. That's what it was designed for. But I don't know. There's some paperwork involved. Full disclosure, Charley and I have never actually done this, but we've talked to people that have.
Right.
And the paperwork, I guess, is not that hard.
Right.
But it has to be done. It has to be done properly.
And you need to know what you're signing.
And you would need to get with Becky Campbell on that. She can get you that paperwork and go over with you exactly what you need to do step by step.
Right.
But just make sure that if you're going to do that, these people that you're going to go work with.
A good individual to talk to about that stuff. You can look in the private Facebook group, do a search in that group for trip leasing, and there is a ton of information in there that was basically provided by Haas.
Mm-hmm.
Haas has done a lot of trip leasing, has some really good insight on that stuff, on how to do it with the Swift system.
Yep.
So yeah, just do a search in the private Facebook group there, and for trip leasing, and a bunch of stuff will come up, and look for stuff done by Haas. That guy has really put out a lot of good information about that.
Mm-hmm.
So there you Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Timothy says they claim the new trucks only use half gallon per hour idling. Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
mean, it
haven't
depends on the
done the math.
truck and how well it's maintained, I think.
Yeah, and
know?
that's kind of what Sue was saying. It's also based on how the truck's maintained. So, yeah, James says that he's ready. He's about ready to go back to being a company driver. And hey, look, man, that's a choice every one of us needs to make, right? Stay here, do what you're doing, make decisions based on numbers, what your family needs are, what your business needs are, and all that sort of thing. I'm not going to down you for it. It's not what we're about. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reason and that it makes sense to you. Run numbers.
Right.
I can see where a lot of people do that.
If you're in a, you got to get back to why you're doing what you're doing. That's the main thing.
Right.
And we like to see people stay in business because, like a lot of entrepreneurial spirited people, we believe that the best path to prosperity is business ownership.
Right.
But if you're sacrificing something more important for that business, you got to really take that long look in the mirror and make the decision based on what you value. And, I can't tell you what to value.
Hey, Trucker Dan.
Hey, Trucker Dan.
Sorry, man. I saw you earlier. We were just talking about in the middle of something. I didn't mean to ignore you. I promise. Okay. I started this one. Speaking of loads, what's up with the load board? We didn't have a meeting this week. It was pushed till next week, so we don't have anything.
It's broken, I can tell you that.
They seem to fix parts of it, but not all of it. I don't know. There is some nasty stuff that happened on the coding side of things that broke it horribly. So, like, we couldn't see when the loads were delivering or where. No delivery date and time. So we could see that there was a load originating in, say, Salt Lake City. That was it. No mileage. Had no idea where it was going. We'd have to say, okay, I need a load out of Salt Lake, so I'm going to go look. And okay, there's 10 loads out of Salt Lake. Have no idea where they're going. Now I have to call my OOC or Sue or Jerry or someone like that and say, hey, this load number, where is it going? Oh, wait, it's not leaving Salt Lake for real? Okay, let's look at the next one. Where's that one going? Oh, that one's going to New York City. Okay, and so the next one, where's that one going? Oh, that one's going to Dallas. Okay, can I have that one? On what date and time? Can I have that one? Thank you. Yep. And then they're like, oh, that's already been booked on somebody. And then you're like, oh, that's sad.
Indeed.
Because it took too long to find out. Just saying. That's where it's at. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. But they're hoping to have some updates done fairly soon to it. They're thinking fixes. I don't know. And Tabana, you are very welcome. I hope we gave you some sort of way to look at that a little bit better. We can't give you absolutes. We can't. As much as we would love to be able to say, yes, trip leasing is worth it. There are a lot of things you need to pay attention to in that sphere. Mm-hmm. So
Wimpy says, I hear Texas rates are horrible. So here's what's interesting. So, Charlie, I haven't listened to the DAT report in a couple of weeks because I've been busy and I forgot about it.
Right.
But I did listen to it today. And Texas rates have actually been steadily going up over the last 3 weeks.
Right.
They went up another 3 cents this week. So, not the worst place to be.
Texas is typically a good place on a mileage contract like we are at our carrier. That it's typically a good place to go for us because we can usually get freight pretty much to all points from there. Mm-hmm. I don't know, when I'm leaving Florida or the Southeast to go out there, I'm typically looking for loads that either are Transcon because team truck, or looking at somewhere like Texas because there is so much freight coming out of there. Yep. I don't know.
And Nick Earl says, my truck, because I idle it up, which you all should learn to do, uses 1.1 gallons an hour. I'm going to counter that with this. And yes, there's reasons to bump the idle up because of the emission systems that we have on these newer trucks. But if you're going to do that, why not just buy an APU?
Right.
I mean, at that point, that's where I would. I've been considering one anyway, but if I was drinking that much fuel when I idle, yeah, just get an APU at that point. The ROI on that's got to be what, 9 months, a year.
Right. You know, somebody asked earlier. Oh, look, Roland did. Hey, Jeff, looking at getting APU yet?
Yeah, whatever. Thing is that I want what I want, and it's expensive. What can I tell you? So right now, what I'm looking at, because the health of my engine is really great, and I keep, you guys have heard me talk about how I monitor that. But absolutely, by the time I rebuild the engine, and I have basically a brand new engine, at that point, then it becomes a no-brainer. Get the damn APU.
Right.
Just get it all done at the same time. But I'm probably 2 years away from that, and I don't know. The main thing about the APU to me, Charlie, and people can yell at me for this if you want, but it's not as much about the fuel mileage, the savings in fuel. It is about making your engine last longer, because
Right.
idling is harder on your whole engine than driving down the road.
That was funny. You said whole engine. Sorry. 12-year-old.
Too tired for this.
I'm sorry. Josh has an APU. Maybe he can chime in with some of his numbers on that. Carolina said, can you get an APU through Swift? Nope. You have to do it on your own on the outside, some way, some shape. Yeah. In the contract, it states that anything you add to the truck pretty much is going to stay with the truck or can't. There has to be no visible proof of it being there afterwards if you're going to like take it with you type of deal. It's a weird thing. So be careful what you're doing.
Yeah, we've ran into also was it Angel that tried to put one on his truck and it wouldn't fit because he'd have to cut the fairing.
Right.
And he was not buying that truck. He was turning
Right.
it back in, so he decided not to do it.
Rose is like, what did I walk into? Oh, Lord.
That's what she said.
Right?
Oh,
man. So, Kelly Furlong asked, would it be better to get off of ERF and go OTR? I never go home and not really making anything. Hard question to answer.
I would say no. I actually live in Utah and I'm on the ERF. So for me, I have to get back east of the 35 every time I leave the house within a reasonable amount of time where they'll kick me off of it. Because the further west you go, like if you go west of the 35, the freight starts dropping off pretty quick anyway.
Right.
And on ERF, you're getting the shorter loads, so you get paid more per mile, even more per mile than OTR. The deadhead is higher on ERF than OTR, but it also pays more. So
Right.
here's what we figured out when I first did this test. It's been I started in January doing this,
something like that.
and right off the bat, I was getting really frustrated because, like any OTR guy, right? I'm like, gosh, these 300-mile loads, 150-mile deadheads, what the heck? But when Charlie and I sat down and did the actual numbers, I saw about a 20% gain in my profits.
Right.
And that's the way to look at it, is what are you going to profit?
The increased mileage rate seemed to offset the deadhead.
So then it becomes, is it worth the pain in the butt factor?
Right.
Right. I could tell you that thanks to Sue, she really, really pushed me on this. Hey, do you have your list of planners you can contact? And I got a hold of a couple of really good planners in the ERF that I wrote down their codes and all that stuff that I can contact to stay moving. that's going to be your key on ERF, Kelly. Is I've been telling people recently in the private group, one of my actions for you to take is when you're not don't have a load, do a macro 10 and see what kind of response you get from these guys. If all they say is, "Oh, there's no freight," okay, well that guy's useless. Okay, but every once in a while you get a guy say, freight's really not that great right now. Let me look and see what I've got, and I'll get back to you. And then you get a pre-plan a couple minutes later.
Right.
You write that guy's information down,
Right.
because that's one of your go-to people.
And reach out to them on a regular basis. Keep that thing fresh.
Yep.
Ideally, if you can find a triangle to work and you're hitting those 3 same planners, every couple of days, man, burn that up, because that is fire, especially right now. And a lot of the people that you see that are, saying, hey, man, I'm still doing 3,000 miles a week as a solo. They're probably doing something similar to that. They're working very specific areas. It's funny. I just drew like a triangle with my cursor on the screen, not like you get thinking like, oh yeah, they can see that. No, you can't. But yeah, sorry, squirrel. But they're probably working very specific areas back and forth, or a triangle, a square, something along those lines, and they're hitting those same people up, and they're constantly popping up on those people's radars. And they're like, oh man, this guy's been on time. He's early. He's eager to work. He's hungry. He's hustling. And look, call it what you want. It's working for those guys.
And Sue brings this up. Reach out to them, ask them how their family's doing, not just about I need a load.
Yeah, remember, people are people.
That's right. So whenever I've gotten to whenever I even reject a load, my rejection is not, hey, yeah, that load sucks, I ain't taking that load.
Right.
Yeah, out of your mind. I say, hey, this load to Maine, this is the last one that this applied to. This load to Maine, I understand you need to get it done, but I also understand there's no freight up there. I'm willing to go up there if you got a stack to get me out. Otherwise, I'm going to have to wait and get something somewhere where I'm not going to sit. The way you word it, don't be a jerk. When I do a macro 10, it's not, hey, where's the freight? It's like, hey, just reaching out. Hope you guys are doing good. Just wondering how freight's looking. My PTA is this.
Right.
And I'll usually get good response from that. I usually get more than just there's no freight.
Kelly followed up with, I've been doing that all day until Jill told me about the North loads, but now Trey answered out of Memphis, planning according to PTA. And yeah, so Thursday when I was in Ocala, I spent the last half of Thursday in Ocala, from about noon till the normal day shift people left. And I got to have some really cool conversations. I was sitting at Sue's desk and was talking to some planners that sit around that area there. And I believe, I cannot remember their name, Sue, so you may have to save me here. But I believe one of them is like a planning leader type of guy, sits to the left of Sue there. And the gentleman that sat to the right of Sue, I was at, we were talking about contractors and planning. And, some of what was said is not a happy thing to hear, but it is reality. When they're sending out loads, they almost dread sending a load. Rick, and Rick's to your left. But they'll send out loads that, that's all the freight they have. They're not cherry picking things to say, oh, here, let me give this contractor this stupid heavy load. It's the load they have available at the time. And then they send it to a contractor, and the worst thing that can happen to that load with that planner and that contractor is the contractor doesn't respond to it all. They just ignore it. And most of those loads are heavy loads that they get that kind of response to. When you don't respond to it, just sits there, and they are far less likely to help you out afterwards. That's no communication on your part. Yeah, Rick to her left and Brandon behind her. Really good conversation with these guys, and they were explaining from their side, and it actually sparked a show idea. I'm going to try and do a recorded deal just because I'd actually like to talk to some of these East Coast folks, because that's who I've typically dealt with more often than not. And so trying to schedule them in live on the show is kind of tough to do. So I may do a recorded deal where we go over, a lot of this stuff about what the planners see, do, and what they're trying to do. They're not out here trying to screw us. They're not like, ha ha, I'm going to give this crap load to this contractor because he's a contractor. Screw that guy. That's not
they
what
might
it is.
do that because you were a jerk to them last week.
Yeah, look, people are people. It's a thing. It's a real thing, and sometimes when you treat someone very poorly, they will remember that.
Yep.
And they would be far less likely to help you out. Whether you think it's right or wrong, it's real. So, keep in mind that especially right now, with the market being what it is, they're not sending these loads just to screw you over. They're really sending loads, one, because they need to cover loads, right? And two, that's what they got. I mean, their job is to cover freight, get freight picked up and delivered, hopefully on time. That is the goal, right? And then maybe they're doing a same day booking, a load that just popped up. And look, I said a thing to them. I'm like, we see posts all the time and comments. Well, they kept sending me these really heavy loads. And I just kept saying, no. I know you got something better, right?
And they don't.
And they didn't at the time. And then, a day later, a load got sent to their Zonar. I'm going to say Qualcomm. A load got sent to their Zonar that's 10,000 pounds and 2,000 miles. And they're like, see, I told you they had one. Chances are that load was just booked. And you happen to get lucky, because I can tell you that were I a planner, I probably would not have given you that load. But I'm a mean person. I don't know. You can call me whatever you want. I probably would not have given you that. And so you're lucky that you got that. I don't believe it that you were right at the time. They weren't trying to screw you. That's what they had at the time. And you run that gamble. You run that risk. Roll them dice. Come on. Oh, snake ass. Son of a bitch. Right?
Yeah,
and you got lucky.
One of the things you that would help immensely is if before you responded to these people in the office, whether it's on a macro 10, a rejection on a load or whatever, actually sit and think about, what do I want to accomplish with this message? And I'm going to suggest you want them to know, number one, you are willing to work. Number two, you know your business. So like the loads up to Maine, I let them know that I knew that there was no freight up there. Right? And that you're willing to work.
Right.
Willing to work, you know your business, and you're willing to work. That's what you want them to know in every single message you send these people. As a result of my rejection of the one in Maine, by the way, I ended up with a stack of two loads, two little shorter loads that ended up in Louisiana in the end. So that wasn't too bad. They knew it wasn't because I didn't want to work. They knew. So let's just take the perspective that people are evil and they really are trying to screw you or whatever. They'll lie to you or whatever. The fact that I let them know that I knew better meant they really couldn't do that. Oh yeah, we'll get you something when you get up there. No, you won't.
Right.
I know there's no freight up there.
You're right.
You can't.
You hope you might get me something.
Your words don't matter to me. You give me a stack and I'll do it.
Hope in one hand, poop in the other. Which one fills up first?
Charlie, I used to do this all the time when I'd hit Pennsylvania up there by Jonestown, right? They had these really just kind of not great loads for that paint company down the street from the terminal, going down to New Jersey and back. You're hauling an empty trailer down, which isn't so bad, and you got 45,000 pounds of paint coming back up in one of their trailers. The Paint the World company, whatever that one is, you know the ones I'm talking about. And these planners, man, they'd be like, "Hey, we need you to do this thing." I'm like, "Hey, that's great, but I need to make money."
Right.
My whole idea was let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal.
And almost every single time, now this was years ago, guys, so keep this in mind. Things were a little different. There's more freight available. I would do maybe 2 turns of those for them, and then they would want they would plan me all this at the same time. Say, well, can you do 2 turns for us? And then where do you want to go? How about Dallas?
Right?
Yeah, we got one. You
Nice.
do those 2 turns for me, and then we'll send you to Dallas. I'm like, all right, stack it up. Bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam, off the Qualcomm. There you go. But you know that whole in those situations, even now, when they're like, man, we just really need this done. I'm like, man, I understand that. Let's help each other. Make a deal. The worst thing that could happen is they say, you know, we can't. And then Charlie, we have to decide at
Right.
that point. Do we stick to our guns and say I ain't doing that load,
Right.
or do we take the $300
Right.
or whatever it's going to pay us?
Again, it's got to come down to your numbers and your math. We can't tell you yes, no. We can tell you what we might do in that situation, but
Yep.
maybe that doesn't work for your situation. Tavona,
I mean,
Tavona, sorry. Do they plan based on truck location?
They do.
And Sue said flat out location and PTA, but PTA is king.
Yep.
This is funny. When you sit down to stop for a break and notice your PTA is off, send the macro 34 or is it 37? Having a brain fart and adjust it. I'm seeing a trend here. So when you shut down, make sure your PTA is correct.
And it's a 34. Yeah.
It's a 34. We love you, Sue. You know,
I've seen your fingers, Sue. Don't give me that.
Right? Look, she says that was shut. Nope, that's not what it says. I see it clearly right there. I've got my glasses on, and
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
It's gonna be bright, sunshiny day. I'm off. I can't hear myself right now. It's really bad. I apologize. Jeff's face just locked up on me. He's just like, oh my God.
It's you, man, because I've got no problems at all.
No. It was just the stare right there. It wasn't frozen. Oh. Just your face was like, what is he doing?
Did I go into resting bitch face?
Oh, something like that. More like resting Jeff face, whatever. Anyhow.
I'm working on it. See, my lips are actually curled up today. I'm working on
that. That's a good one. Look, so I've been doing some nerdy background stuff. We're working on our thumbnails and show name update type stuff, right? And I had to take a bunch of stupid pictures, and I have to tell you, it was very uncomfortable to do. Maybe I'll let you see some of these stupid things. That could actually be funny. I wonder if I can make that work. I will do that in a minute. Because I felt like a jackass standing here taking these pictures, but it's a YouTube thing. It's a YouTube thing, and you're just like, oh my God, what am I doing? What has my life come to? Oh God. But Jeff hasn't taken any of those pictures yet. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's where I landed. So there you go, Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff, you need to take some stupid pictures, man.
I took a picture of my truck in the early evening yesterday.
Nice. You haven't sent that.
That's even bobtail.
You didn't send that to me, but okay.
Yeah. So what do you guys see? So we're working on our website, our actual website, and we have a bona fide web designer now that's working with us, who happens to be my retired dad that did this for since MySpace was a thing. But we were thinking about. Y'all know my truck's kind of famous at this point because it looks like crap on the outside, but I live pretty well on the inside, We're going to take a picture of Charlie in front of his brand new truck and a picture of me in front of my ratty truck, bungee cords holding the grill on and everything. The beginning of the journey and the end of the journey. That was my idea. I think it's great. I will watch it before I do that picture, though.
Nice. Okay. You guys will love this. Ready? Wait. Let me do this. I'm going to share my stupid pictures here. Ready?
Whoa.
What is that?
Why does your shirt look fuzzy?
Shut your freaking mouth, okay? Just
looks like
calm down. Calm down. That's what filters are for.
Okay.
So here's the funny thing. I literally had to. It was like wrinkle. The pictures before these were really bad because you just thought I saved the world from the wrinkle bomb. Like I threw myself upon the wrinkle bomb to save you all from this. So you're welcome. I saved you.
Looks like a towel.
Right? It won't let me move to the next picture, will it?
Did you do slideshow?
Wait,
There
let's
we
see
go.
if that works. I don't know if it's going to go or not. Oh, huh? What is that?
That better be coming all out of one folder. I don't want to see that other folder of yours.
Hey, no, this is yeah. What? Oh, right. What is that? Oh my gosh. So yeah. Oh my God. What happened, emoji? What? Right? Hey. Anyhow, so that's enough of that. So I felt really stupid doing these things, but it was really kind of weird and fun to do at the same time. Now I have to make that thing stop. It's scrolling on my screen. It's freaking me out. Sorry, but we've been doing a bunch of work on the back end of stuff, and I guess that's where I was going with that. I don't know. It was silly, and Jeff needs to get me a bunch of pictures like that because he hates doing that. I don't think Jeff likes taking pictures. Period. But
I grew up with a father that you never saw him without a camera in his hand, and so I'm a little bit like, ugh.
You're like over it.
Yeah.
But what that's doing is we're taking things like that, right? And then we turn them into, let's see if I can find one. Oh, this was a mock-up that I did, and I shared it with Jeff earlier and our art person, Donna Morton. And this is kind of the type of thing that we're doing. Let me get rid of some of this crap. I wonder if I can make that. Oh, I can. Look at that. Right? Okay, so I can share that screen.
Technology.
Right? There it is. So, hey, look at that. But look, those stupid poses, we get to turn into other stuff, which is kind of fun and neat. But anyhow, yeah. Oh man.
And that's the new working title for our show, by the way, guys. If you want to let us know what you think of that. Real truckers talking real business.
And I've been learning all this science stuff behind this thumbnail. Look, who knew there was science behind thumbnails? I did not. Marketing is not my thing. I am a passionate talker about the things that I talk about. Jeff is a much better business marketing person when talking about these things, and it's not my strong point. I don't know what to say. I gotta make that go away because I don't like. So that was a total mock-up. Actually, one of those pictures should be Jeff, but he hasn't sent me pictures or anything like that yet. So he can't do that yet. So
you're lucky I agreed to be on camera, man.
I know. But yeah, so that's some of the silly things that we're working on. Hey, thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. Craig says his new show title sounds catchy. It's a working title. I really like it. I wish I could take credit for it. It's just something that Charley blurted out, I think, yesterday. I'm like, hey, wait, stop. Say that again.
Yeah, we were workshopping on the phone the other day. And I'm like, look, we need a shorter because look, live weekly update 6623. That's the show title. It's not real catchy, doesn't really flow off the tongue, you know what I mean? And it's actually hard to read in our thumbnails. And our current thumbnails are something that I created a long time ago. And Donna hates them. I've never really been a fan of them, but we needed something there. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and look, I've had social media people contact me and email and messages and stuff like that. And they're like, that thing's terrible.
Usually these are people with names we can't figure out how to pronounce.
Right. And they want me
to send them money with an Apple Pay card.
Right. To fix our stuff. And I'm like, thank you. No, thank you. But yeah, so Jeff and I were brainstorming or workshopping, and I just like workshopping. There's a picture we both got to pull up with Jeff right there. The rabbit.
I look more like Dr. Evil, man.
Right, you're a little scary, and I kind of like it. Oh my God.
Oh,
Timothy says, I don't know how to iron. I absolutely do, sir, because I used to do all of my own uniform pressing
You
because
know,
I didn't like the quality that I got
I
from it.
remember we we had an OC, which is an observer controller during a field exercise one time that was getting ready to retire. And I asked the man, I said, "So, Sergeant, what are you going to do when you retire?" And he said, "See that Humvee over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to get as big as that mofo. I ain't running another day in my life." And I
Nice.
kind of felt the same way about ironing when I got out.
Right? Yeah, like oh man, I used to iron like every day, a couple times a day, getting uniforms ready for the next day's road patrol. Or, I mean, look, a lot of days in the field, we still showed up creased. They're like, "What the hell's the matter with you, man?" We're like, "Psh, we're paratroopers, we're airborne, we're MPs. We gotta look good at all times,
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
had
god,
those suede leather boots that they can't polish, let alone be required to.
oh my god,
What has
that
this world come to?
that would have been a blessing. I'm not gonna lie, I hated polishing boots. I was not good at it. That was one of the things that I was absolutely willing to pay people to do.
Mm.
Like we had those barracks rats that were the mirror polish guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, go drop your boots off in the morning or at night over there. Pick them up in the morning. They're just beautiful. Like just man, mirrors in black.
It's a skill, that's for sure.
Oh God, I was not good at that, but I could press the hell out of a uniform. There's a couple times I traded services. I do pressing, they do polishing. We'd be good.
Nick Earl says one of my buddies that creates content spends 3.5 to 4 hours on his thumbnails. And yeah, so with this transition that we're making into the other platform that we've been talking about, and we've gotten some different opinions on it on the private Facebook group, whatever. Just to touch on that a little bit, because it is coming sooner rather than later, we promise. We're not going to do a Brett Stewart and tell you it's coming out next week. We've already been through that.
Right.
But I've spent the last 3 solid months just learning and reading and watching videos and learning how to take what we do to the next level, and hopefully get a lot of you guys to go make that leap with us. And yeah, this is one of the things we found out, this 3.5, 4 hours on a thumbnail thing.
Right.
And what an impact that it has on the YouTube algorithms and the likelihood that someone's going to click on your content. And Charlie and I were talking about this just the other day. We're totally not talking trucking right now, but it's good stuff.
Right.
It's good.
Sorry.
It's good TV.
Geeking out.
There's this guy. I'm a big Star Wars fan. There's this guy called Mike Zero. And he's one of those dudes that gets like the inside information, and he's right probably about 80% of the time on what's going on in the Star Wars universe. You know how initially
love you.
You know how I initially found him was his thumbnail just looked wild.
Right.
And I clicked on it.
It was all about the thumbnail.
I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have even found this guy. Now I watch the dude like a couple times a week. So yeah, marketing is weird, man. People are weird. That's why marketing is weird.
Oh, look, Nick knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, the dudes. One of the first things I told Charlie about him, by the way, because we've been trying to figure out, we've never actually cared that much before about our YouTube following, like getting a bunch of likes, getting a bunch of subs. We were just trying to get information out to you guys, but we learned over the past 2 years that in order to help more people, we're going to have to do that.
Right.
To broaden our reach, right? And one of the things that this Mike Zero guy does at least 3 times during his videos, he will say, "Hey guys, if you appreciate what I'm doing here and you enjoy the content, please hit the like button and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that." And he just says that like 3 times during maybe a 20-minute video.
Right.
Which is something we suck at.
Right, because that's only the second time that graphic has gone on the screen this whole show. Just saying. Look, it's weird to us because this isn't really our realm. The YouTube thing. We are truck drivers. We are truckers. That is what we do. And go ahead.
So here's one for you, Charlie. I talk to Colton more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And Colton, if you're watching, I want to be your friend, man. The dude's just that awesome. But so that he invited us to be on the Radio Nemo show coming up here on July 21st.
At
And he
9
keeps
a.m. from 9 to
at 9
9:30
a.m.
Eastern.
So this one kind of struck me, broadsided me. When he talks to me about it, he's like, yeah, I want you and a couple other influencers to come by and spend time at the booth too. I don't know how we became influencers,
Right.
but that's the title that's been christened on us by the trucker CFO, Colton. So, hey, you know, this is a space that I was telling him yesterday. This is a space that's brand new to us. We're truck drivers, man. And it's just
like the title,
really,
but yeah, it's weird.
I don't like any of those titles: guru,
Right.
influencer, whatever,
YouTuber,
life coach, all those title things. Yeah, but you know, there is some reality to when you're learning how to market something. Like if you guys ever want to go out and do something like this, you have something you're passionate about, whatever it is. For us, it's trucking. Maybe you like to make quilts or crochet, whatever it is.
basket weaving, yo. That's my other.
If you want to learn how to reach people, you got to get used to these stupid titles. Otherwise, you're never going to find the information because you got to look it up that way.
Right. Yeah, and Nick, you know, your buddy that does 3.5, 4 hours on thumbnails. It's funny. One of the guys that I've been paying attention to was talking about, you know, how he does all these thumbnails, and I mean, it's one of the things he does on the side. He builds people's thumbnails, right? And he's like, yeah, I'll just get into it, and I'll realize that I've been at this for 4 hours on a single thumbnail, and I'll be like, oh, I'm just going to use the first one I built anyhow. So 5 minutes in, he was done. Yep. Ultimately. But he was just geeking out and having a good time, and that time is, look, it's gone.
Hey, we got a turkey question.
Oh, there you go.
So the Carolina trucker wants to know, what speed would you recommend for a good mile to MPG balance, especially in today's market, with freight being what it is? I see no reason to go over 60 miles an hour. Now, there's more to it than that. It's going to depend on your final gear ratio on your truck, your engine, your transmission, all that stuff. And I always screw this up, so I'm going to let Charlie talk more about. There's a certain RPM you need to be on your truck to get optimal fuel mileage.
And different trucks are different.
Right. And what we've started seeing recently, because we've been starting to look at it a little more, like on my truck, 60 miles an hour is perfect. I'm right at 1150 RPMs at 60 miles an hour. If I drop down to 57, I'm right at 1100 RPMs. Some of the Kenworths, they're at that 1150 at 62.
Right.
And so what we've been telling them is, hey, look at your RPMs. You want to be there between 11 and 12 on the RPM gauge, and look at your speed when you're doing that. And if you want to take it a step further, what you do is you download the Let's Truck app and start using fuel gauges. That's an app that's produced by Let's Truck, which is, if you're newer to the industry, you probably don't know who it is, but it's Kevin Rutherford. He was the guy that pretty much Charlie and I and a bunch of other guys learned so much from him over the years that we were really sad when he lost his show on the XM, because the dude just amazing information. So he developed this app that tracks fuel mileage better than anything else I've ever seen. And I've actually used it since 2007 when he put the first version out. So I've actually got 3 trucks worth of information on my app that I can look at. Use that app and, you know, pick a speed. Yeah, you know, depending on how much money you want to kind of spend on your education here, because education always costs something, right? You could even just say, hey, I'm going to drive like I was a company driver, and I'm going to do 70 miles an hour everywhere I go. Okay. If that's the speed you pick, do that for 30 days. 30. Not 29.
Right.
Not 35. 30 days. On day 31, slow down. Let's say you started at 70. Slow down to 65. Do it for 30 days.
Right.
And see what the results are. And then on day 61, slow down to 60. Do it for 30 days. and see what your numbers are.
Right.
If you really want to know what the best speed to run your truck at, that's the best way to know. Because the first thing you want to do is figure out, okay, you're going to find out this. At 70, I get this. At 65, I get this. At 60, I get this. That's important. Because when freight picks back up, you're going to have to make a choice.
Right.
Do you do 70 and try and get that extra load in for the week? Or do you keep doing 60 to keep your fuel costs down? Because you can't do both.
Right.
And then you do the math. Do the hard numbers. If I do 70 versus 60, I'm going to be able to do this many more miles. How much is that going to affect my bottom line? Because
Right. What's
you know the fuel
be?
mileage number, right? You know the fuel mileage number for each of those speeds. You've done the hard work to figure that out. So then you can say, okay, but those extra 500 miles, say, it's going to cost me this much in fuel over that 7 days.
And just to confuse you just a little here, when you run the numbers based on the fuel mileage versus the cost, pick one of those 30-day segments, use that average fuel cost so that you're comparing the fuel cost directly to the same amount of mileage versus the net profit overall. Because as the prices fluctuate up and down, you might get a skewed number. To give yourself a more accurate number of what you could have done, utilize that set price for a 30-day period and compare that.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to get a skewed number. And if you had like a huge drop in fuel prices at that 30-day period, you're going to think, oh, well, I did so much better driving faster. And it's going to throw off your numbers. So, sorry.
Yep. Yeah, you want to compare apples to apples as much as you can. So yeah, so I always drive 60. I'm just that guy.
I used to do 57 in my old truck.
I have never in my entire career at Swift, other than when I've done Walmart Surge, so there's always that one off, right? There's always that guy that says, well, I make more money. Well, prove it. And then they do, and you're like, okay, you're that guy.
You're that guy.
All right, carry on.
Very specific scenarios, though.
Right. It's always a specific scenario where it pencils out.
It's not the average OTR guy on a Swift contract.
Right. So we could go over so much more that would take, that's one of the reasons why we're going to on our subscription services where we're going to do the classes, that just the time involved. It's going to, in order to teach these classes, we're going to have to not run our trucking businesses. So we need to recoup that. And we're going to be going over a lot of that stuff in detail, much more so than we can on the show, just because of the time.
Right.
But yeah, if you run this experiment, especially since you're brand new, and I'm one of those old school guys. I still have a Franklin Day planner, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
I still use the old Franklin Covey planner that I bought years ago. So data like that I have written down in my planner, so I don't have to go hunting through the app. Gosh, where was that? I know. I get at 68, I get 7 on a light load. I usually only do that when I'm on a light load, but if I'm doing 60, I get 8.2. I know that. I have it written down over there. So write it down so you're not hunting for the information. That way, when you do reach one of these decision points, it's like, look, it looks like I could get 3,500 miles this week, but I'm going to have to do 70. Well, what if you slow down to 60 so you could only get 3,000 miles? What's that 500 miles going to cost you?
Right.
And is it going to make your bottom line? Is more money going to go into your bank account if you do that 70 or not? I mean, that's just the reality of what we do. It's not what you make, it's what you keep.
And here's the hard part of that, though, Jeff, is what is that extra miles per hour doing to your cost of tires and maintenance?
Well, now you're getting even deeper into the weeds,
I know.
man. This could be a 5-hour show if we go into that.
Right. But I mean, these are considerations, right?
Right.
they've proven higher speeds will wear your tires out faster. It's not you're going to lose so much tire per mile,
Well,
period, regardless of speed.
When Bruce was going over my oil sample, he asked me how fast I drive, and I told him 60, and he's like, he paused, like he does.
Right.
He's like, all the time? I'm like, yeah. He's like, honestly? I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, well, then this kind of makes sense, because it's not just tires, it's internal engine wear. Higher speeds, higher temperatures, it'll
More
wear your
wear.
engine out faster.
Right.
So I'm looking at a 1.4 million mile engine. Last I talked to him about it. There was a guy on the group the other day did a in-frame on a 2016 Freightliner DD15 D12 transmission at 890,000 miles. That's where I'm at, and I'm not even close.
Hell, we've seen 500,000 rebuilds.
Yeah. Now, some of that is the, roll the dice whenever you get a new truck. Sometimes you get a lemon, sometimes you don't. There is some of that, but the way you treat your truck, I think, is more important. I do my maintenance as was told to me by Pittsburgh Power when I got my OPS. I say, hey, I own the truck now, way out of warranty, so don't care about that. How do you recommend I maintain this truck? And they told me, and that's what I do. So, by the way, Bruce disagrees with his own mechanics on that, because he'll tell you that he's old school. He cannot wrap his mind around extended oil drains. He just won't do it.
Right.
But he still, on every diesel engine he owns, he does have an OPS, and he does change the filters and do the oil samples. He just doesn't do the extended drains. So,
Carolina says they are getting the 2019 Freightliner with the Detroit.
Nice.
Yeah. I like my Freightliner. My old Freightliner, speaking of the fuel mileage thing, got better fuel mileage at 57 than it did at 60. And I tried to do that with my new Freightliner. And when I ran the numbers at 57 versus running the numbers at 60, I was getting better fuel mileage at 60. Simply the power band of the transmission, the truck, the gears, the ratios, the whole 9 yards. That mechanical advantage,
right.
It all factors in. So, I mean, you need to figure out what yours is. And just that 3 miles per hour difference was a thing. I mean, it was a noticeable difference.
And we figured it out too, Charlie, I think, when we were talking about it. It's that rolling hill effect. Because your engine was lugging real bad trying to get up over those little bumps at 57. And you were maintaining a more consistent speed at 60.
Right.
So you got the guys out there, and honestly, I was one of those guys for the longest time. 55 to 57. That's what you should drive. No ifs, ands, or buts. Blah, 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 blah. Well, then we had this interesting thing happen a couple of years ago. We had a lady that we were working with, one of the first people we actually worked with, that had this truck that had a really weird gear ratio.
Mm-hmm.
She could not get any kind of fuel mileage out of that thing below 65 miles an hour.
Right.
And I was like, you're full of crap. Come on,
We got the charge air cooler tested, the overhead checked, the
all the
whole
stuff
9 yards.
And it turned out that even the mechanics were like, I've never seen a gear ratio like that on a Swift truck before.
Mm-hmm. Gear ratio was killing her.
It was geared for a faster speed on the flats.
Right.
And she was running the Rockies.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, that's when, again, you got to keep an open mind. Meeting this person and seeing what was going on, forced me outside of my thinking.
Right.
I mean, when you're faced with numbers, what do? You can't just keep going, no, you're wrong, you're full of crap. There's hard numbers there, Right. Time to change your mind, bucko.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, well, we're coming up on the end here, guys. If you got anything you want us to talk about beforehand, we got about 10 minutes left before we wrap this thing. John C., I'm glad you're out there with your buddy at the VA hospital. I remember you talking about him, and I mean, he was in bad shape, and glad that he's doing better now on new drug therapy. And John said, appreciate all the prayers for Dan, guys. So former Swift driver, he's at the VA hospital going through some stuff in bad shape. So good thoughts, positive. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a prayer guy. I'm a positive feelings guy.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Yeah. No, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just being honest and real, right? Yeah. So yeah, man. And it sucks being in a VA hospital. I spent 7 days in one. Oh God, it was not pleasant. It was although it was one of the nicer ones. Salt Lake City's VA hospital was actually not a horrible place to be. Oklahoma City is not the place I'd want to be at for 7 days. Just saying. Spent a couple hours there, and that was more than enough. Yeah. So, Life on 18 Wheels took y'all advice on getting an MD alignment. Now I need to get new tires. Yep. That's usually what happens, and there's usually a reason for that. And those guys are really good at figuring out why.
You know, I always tell guys, if you think you have an alignment problem, you got tires that are getting worn, funny wear on them, go to those guys first.
You're right,
because they will do the Charley thing.
Yeah, touch the tires,
bless your tires, and that's part of their diagnostic is that tire wear. Just be prepared, though, and I don't know if this happened with you, Life on 18 Wheels, but Charley went to an MD alignment shop one time for $100 alignment and walked out with what was like $3,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah, basically a new front end. Oh my God, it was painful. But at least it was so much nicer afterwards. Yeah,
but they told you they didn't sugarcoat anything. They didn't just do a 3-axle alignment and send you on your way like certain dealerships I know do.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, it was a whole new world. It was, oh God, it was amazing. And that was on Chewy, and that was fantastic. I got that done at the international shop in Ocala. I'm not sure if they still are or not. I haven't looked in a while. But they were an MD Align shop, and I would call them and be like, hey, I need your MD Align stuff. And they're like, come on in. And I think I wanted, it was actually like $270 for the alignment, check and alignment, basic alignment. But then, if there's any problems, that sort of thing, then, the price can jump because, unfortunately, I was at a dealership on top of it. So let's just be real there. But, there was some good backing behind that. And, they didn't mind working on my Freightliner at an international shop. They were totally cool with it because I had money. So, yeah. My gun people out there, I'm going to bring up guns for a second. My gun people out there, I am for any of you who are USCCA members currently and have watched some of their videos and things like that, you might be familiar with the name Tom Greaves. He's a lawyer that does a lot of YouTube videos with them when they start talking legal stuff. I'm in contact with him and trying to get him on the show, and it seems like he is probably going to book some time on our show with us so we can sit down and have a real honest-to-God conversation about some real honest-to-God good stuff to understand it from a true legal professional, not just me and my crazy brain.
Bear Hunter missed the entire show buffering.
I think he's still buffering.
That's great.
We love you, Sean. Don't worry, buddy. Yeah. So you guys, with this insurance thing and safety holds and insurance hold thing coming up, if you haven't swapped insurance, you might want to think about doing that or getting that camera, which I don't recommend. Don't think Jeff will recommend it, but not that we're anti-camera. We want you to have your own camera that you control and you take care of.
So a little update on that. Now that more guys, some people chose to get cameras instead of the outside insurance. Some people are mentors, so they didn't have a choice, right?
Right.
There are, and I feel for you guys. Anyway,
we're still working on that.
Yeah. We are seeing guys getting notices that their contract is in jeopardy because following distance, this, that, or the other thing.
Right.
And here's the real danger. They cannot technically coach us because we don't work for them. That's the thing. So these guys are getting blindsided by this because there was no coaching involved. Nobody ever told them, hey, you might want to watch out. Right.
They didn't know they had 400 points.
Right. they're getting us notice saying, hey, you got 400 points. We need SOC. So it's coaching, not coaching, Charlie.
Right. So I put a link in the chat there. That is to a video that we put out last week. How to find your smart drive safety score. Some people were saying that they were required to have a login for it. I didn't have that experience. I mean, you literally saw what I did on that video. We had some people follow up with us on that and said that you need to be logged into either Engage or the other one. Engage. What's the other old app? Oh, I can't think
I have
of
it
it
on my phone.
Sorry.
Dial in,
or Engage or the Point app. Make sure you're signing to all those damn apps. How's that? And that seems to help get through that login phase when you go to the portal then and try and click on the Smart Drive app. So check out that video. If it helps you out, great. If not, reach out to us in the group. There's some people there that could tell you a little more about how to get logged in. I honestly didn't even have the problem of logging in. Like, you never asked me for a login. It just let me go there. And I don't even have a Smart Drive. But I will say, we're seeing most of these problems on the Smart Drive system. And people are taking the Smart Drive system because it's cheap, it's free, whatever it is. I'm still in the weird part of that. And cheap and free could be costing people some contracts in the very near future. There is stuff coming down, y'all. Check your scores, get things fixed, figure out what you got to do to make that not happen and not be one of those guys.
And I'm not even anti-coaching per se. I just don't want Swift doing it.
Right.
Charlie and I have both looked at that Netradize system where it's like $1,500 for the 3 years, and that includes a little coaching program, but it's administered by the camera company, not by your insurance company or by your customer. Swift. I mean, anything that will make me a better driver.
Right.
I learned this years ago when I first got the stupid magic eye in the window that tells me with the lane departure thing. And about 3 months after I got that, it was in my 2012, was the first one I had. And my driver leader called me up and said, hey, I need a safety message from you, because they were doing that back then.
Right.
And I said, well, Dana, I got to tell you, I got this new whiz bang on my new truck. And I thought I was good. Apparently, I was not. I was not driving the center of the lane because it keeps telling me I'm not. And so just be aware. Don't get complacent is what I told her. But yeah, a lot of this coaching stuff. I know that the big eye annoys people because but hey, that's telling you something.
Yeah. Oh, I found that tremendous when I first got in this 23, because I came from my 07, which had like no safety features at all. Right, let's just be real.
It had a seatbelt, sort of.
Yeah, mostly. It was, might have been freight. I don't know. Anyhow, so but yeah, and just like, it made me a better driver. And I'm like, dude, you know what? I hate to say it, but you're right. I think it's actually helping. So it's kind of a passive coaching thing, and it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But it's not that we're camera averse.
I do make fun of him sometimes because I can hear it when we're on the phone.
Yeah.
Pay attention, Charlie. Wake up.
What the heck's wrong with you?
What's really weird about it, though, and I don't know if they'll ever fix this, but sometimes you could be on a highway with no lines at all, and it'll go, and I'm like, there are no lines.
And that will be the longest you hear ever. Like, it'll just keep going. You're like, my God, man, there's not even a line there. I think it's just making stuff up. Craig, it's funny you said that. Jeff and I just talked about that. I'm like,
yep.
We were like literally just minutes before the show, we were just talking about that. I'm like, hey, we should, poke Craig because he's the dude with the direct hookups. I'm just saying.
We were talking about it because people are asking questions about tires and rolling resistance again on the group. And I'm like, we should try and get Beckett or his son on. So yeah.
So definitely, man. Let us know what you hear. And
if you're going fishing with Bruce anytime soon, if you could just let him know that I did a bad thing, and if he probably tried to call me for a while after he did the show last time, and I switched phones, and since then I have not been able to get that. I had this business thing where I had a separate phone number for Contractor's Corner, which I gave to him. And I haven't been able to get that damn thing to work since I switched phones. So I'm really not that inept. I'm just technologically challenged. So, yeah.
Carolina Trucker, absolutely. Absolutely. You can get that worked out. You're going to need page 7, 8, and 10 of your new contract coming. I don't know what recruiter you're working with, but if you're working with Michelle, will be able to hook you up with some stuff that you can provide to them. They will have a binder set up specially for you for the day that you start driving.
So that you never have to pay Swift a dime on insurance. But
or have a camera.
Just like, so there's a couple of things, Carolina, that you need to be aware of. Okay. You're going to be paying out of pocket for this insurance.
Right.
So you got to put your big person pants on, right? No short pants. This is, no joke, because if you don't pay Seabright and they cancel you, you lose your contract. There's a lot of things that we teach that will absolutely help you make more money, but it's a chicken and egg type of thing. Charlie, what's your rate at Seabright? Because his is probably going to be similar.
Oh, I never know.
It's like 9 something, isn't it?
I can't remember
for everything.
It's 4%. The basic insurance that you really have to worry about is 4% of the truck value rate. Yeah, Swift's current insurance is 6%, and it adds up on my truck on a 23 to something like $200-$300 lower through Seabright than what I would pay Swift.
Well, what I was getting at is have the money in the bank ahead of time.
Right.
So if you could get from your recruiter what the stipulated loss value is on your truck, that's the magic words. And you call Seabright and you talk to them and you tell them, I need the truck insured for this. I'm at Swift. And they will send you an initial quote. And that is a per month quote. Just make sure you've got that money ahead of time. Because if you do the Swift insurance, they just take it out of your settlement.
Right.
Whether you made money or not, they're taking it out of your settlement. You'll just go in the rears if you don't pay it. With Seabright, it's, again, big boy time. What?
You quiet your mouth. Just keep talking.
Pay your bills, basically. And you'll be all right.
Right.
You're talking about saving. Most of the people that have made the switch are saving $200 a month. Get to use an extra $200 a month. Most people would say yes. Same thing with the fuel card that we promote. It's a prepaid fuel card, right? So you got to load it up before you can use it. And what Charlie and I figured out is ideally you want to try and keep $3,000 on that card.
Yeah,
and there's
as a solo guy.
As a solo guy. And there's some reasons for that. And we're running short on time. We're actually past time. But you can either go back and look at previous episodes where we've actually talked about it. But you want to have, the reason is because I want you to have 2 weeks worth of fuel purchase power on that card at all times. That way, if you have a negative week, you have a breakdown, whatever, so you didn't make any money that week, you're still good for another week to get those discounts. And then you can start building it back up after that. If you haven't signed the lease yet, then you're probably not in the private Facebook group. If you go on to just PM Charlie or I, we do go by our real names on Facebook, so we're really easy to find. And we could go over some of this with you before you even sign the lease. And we can see where you're at. And, a lot of guys, when they're first starting out, they hear what we're talking about. Oh, I don't have $3,000.
Right.
That's okay. But let us help you come up with a plan to get that $3,000 on that card.
If you go to that link that I put in the chat right there, here, let me put it up on the screen too. But on that link right there, if you sign up for the fuel card there, and it's a basic little contact me type form, and expect a call from a Mississippi number, they're gonna talk to you. And when you fund that card and use it the first time, you're gonna get an extra $50 because the referral bonus that were offered or could take, we passed on to you guys. So you'll have that extra $50 on your card plus what other incentives they have going on. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 35. You could have an extra $85 on there.
I think the highest I've ever seen it was 35. So
Mhm.
you end up with 85 on there. And they are going to ask though for them to activate the card. They're going to ask that you put $100 on it initially.
Right.
To activate the card. So you activate the card with your $100. You have our $50 that we give you, and you got $150 worth of fuel purchasing power right off the get-go. And again, if you want to PM me, I'm kind of the one that's heading up this part of the project. I have an apps. I actually have a whole spreadsheet and everything showing how you can start that card and just roll the discounts forward over time. I mean, if you're only starting with that $150, it's going to take a while. But if you just roll the discounts forward, and I can show you how to do that, you end up funding the card with the discounts.
Right.
Up to $3,000 over time. And, this is business. A lot of the things you do in business take time. It's not an overnight success thing. We're not selling you how to buy houses with someone else's money on a midnight infomercial here.
Right.
This is Charley and I have been at this for 16 years, and I just 2.5 years ago I finally got a paid for truck.
Right.
This is a long-term goal if you want to get up there and do this stuff. So
that's a crazy link.
That's a crazy link. That's for our merch. You can get a shirt. It won't have your name on it, but it'll have, unless you want to put your name on it. I think you can do that. But signed by my wife, Donna Morton. She did our logo for us, and she helps us set up a little merch store.
I'll put it in the chat.
You can get hats. You can get shirts. I think she put it on a coffee mug.
Oh, there's mugs and all kinds of different. There's all kinds of stuff on there. And Rosie was like, "Ooh, look at that!" And I'm like, "Oh." Hell.
And what's interesting too, though, that we noticed is that when you go to our little store, there's a section that says you might also like, and there's a bunch of other trucking gear that shows up at the bottom that you can click on and go to as well. So
it's in the chat as well. But hey, guys, on that note, we're going to wrap this thing. By all means, if you have questions, if you're watching this on the replay or you're watching this later and you have questions or comments you want to throw them down there in the comment section. And we don't get a whole lot of interaction in the comments down below. It helps with the YouTube's algorithm stuff. So by all means, get those conversations going. Don't wait for next week's show. If you got a question, throw it in there and we will do our best to answer those questions. I do check that pretty regularly and I try to respond to everyone who comments. So by all means, throw questions down there. Check out the little merch store. It's cool. We're not making a fortune off it, that's for sure. But it's kind of neat to see that stuff. I really enjoy it. It's fun. Yep. I think that Rosie's going to be our biggest buyer. And it scares me a little bit because she's like, "Oh, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that." I'm like, "Oh my God." Love that woman. Love her to death. Love you guys. And Jeff, you got anything else you want to throw out here?
Nope. I got to go to bed, man. I got to drive in like 8 hours.
I'm Charlie. This is Contractor's Corner. We'll be back next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time like we are every week. We're coming up on our 2-year mark here in August, folks. So thank you for doing. Are you going
to be high this time?
Maybe. Who knows? Don't know.
Little brown liquor is all.
All right. Whatever. I'm just saying. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping for another neck surgery. Maybe it'll work out so that 2 anniversaries in a row I come back from surgery on the same day. That's wonderful.
That'd be awesome. You could be Batman again.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Sorry, I was looking at the chat. I apologize if we didn't get to something there that we needed to do us a favor. If we didn't get to something in the chat that you wanted us to get to, put it down there in the comments for us, guys, please. And we will get to that. So look after each other. Thank you guys for spending your time with us every week. It does mean a great deal to us. And I want you to know that it means a great deal to me. Seriously. I made a commitment to be here every damn week. My initial commitment was to do every week for a year straight. I did manage to do that. And so far, I'm actually coming up on the 2-year mark. So I feel pretty good about that. I had one show where I was useless. That was the Colton show. That was
Yeah,
terrible.
that was okay though, because that was more my bag anyway.
Yeah, it worked out well. I mean, look, I was there. I was on the show. I was just not useful. But yeah, so thank you guys seriously, and we will be back next week, 6 p.m. Tuesday Eastern time. And you guys seriously, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. And if you want to talk to us about more stuff, by all means, reach out.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now. With over 35 years in business, top shelf customer service, and innovative commercial insurance solutions, here's what our commercial trucking community says about Seabright.
I haven't had a claim as of yet, but I would rate them at a 5 just based on customer service. How nice everyone is when I call with questions. Robbie.
I am glad I made the switch. I saved roughly $450. A huge difference. Saving big with Seabright. Darlene.
I have nothing but great things to say. Incredible answering my questions, helping me set up my policy, making sure everything is correct. Super friendly. Anthony.
If you're a Swift transportation contractor, Contractors Corner Consulting Group and Seabright have a special rate just for you. When you call, mention you are a Swift contractor and you are interested in the Contractors Corner deal to save and keep more of your money in your pocket. Not a Swift contractor? No problem. Mention Contractors Corner and let us show you the savings.
We asked the Seabright team to help us help contractors save and keep more money. What they came up with exceeded by far what we thought was possible.
Call now to see what you can save. Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466.